In the previous lesson, I gave you a basic guide on how to take your targeted interests and select these in the Facebook Power Editor for your ad campaigns. At a bare minimum, if you do this and you test out several ads to different interest groups, you'll be able to fine-tune your ad campaign and discover the interest that's going to give you the lowest cost per conversion. But that's just the bare minimum. Remember, Facebook has millions of fan pages online, and that's millions of different ways that you can target your ads. And the interests that you thought about might not be the perfect ones for your target customer, and they might not be the interests that are going to give you the lowest cost per conversion. In order to really improve on your research and discover pages and interest groups that you haven't even considered, I'm going to use this lesson to share with you some of my best tips and tricks for discovering little known fan pages and interests that can really drive high converting, highly targeted customers to your opt-in page. So first, I want to explain the principles of ad competition and how this relates to interest groups. Because once you understand this, you'll see why researching interest groups in advance is so important for your advertising success. You see, every time you select a particular interest group or fan page to advertise to, you're in competition with other advertisers. And the more competition there is, the more expensive that ad's going to be. This is why it's really important to do your research, because what do you think are going to be the most expensive places to advertise to? Well, they're likely to be the most obvious ones and the ones that every advertiser thinks of when they're doing their research. But that's not necessarily the best ones. And if you can find a less obvious interest group, that may bring you far more lucrative rewards. So let me give you an example of what I mean. Let's talk about a product aimed at new mums or mums-to-be, because I fit into that category, so it's an easy one for me to give you an example of, as you know, I'm a consumer in it. Now in the UK, where I'm from, there's a really popular website called Mumsnet. I mean, it's hugely popular, and I've just checked on Alexa while I was putting this video together, and their website's ranked number 340 in the UK. Now, if I was going to advertise, say, baby carriers, for example, they might seem like the perfect target interest group, because if someone's a fan of Mumsnet, then they're likely to have children or be expecting children, so they're in the perfect target market, right? Well, not necessarily. See, I'm friends with a lot of new mums on Facebook, and I've never seen Mumsnet pop up in the news feed. And I'm not a member myself, but I do tend to like pages of boutique shops that sell things like handmade nursery decor, and I know a lot of other new mums who do the same. Lots of us love that sort of handmade individual style. It's very fashionable at the moment, and we start following these pages when we're decorating our nurseries. So those pages might be a much better target group than Mumsnet. And you've got to remember, Mumsnet is a broad site. It's catered to a wide demographic. For example, it includes mums of teenagers, but mums of teenagers are less likely to be in the target market for baby carriers. But mums who are decorating a nursery, well, they're much more closely aligned, and they might be a much more promising group of fan pages to target with far better results. Not only that, because they're less obvious to you and to other advertisers, they may have far less competition, which means lower ad costs, which potentially means lower cost per conversion. Another way you can strengthen your research is to spend a bit of time looking at the fan pages of the interests you're planning on targeting to get a better feel for the type of audience they're marketing to. This is full of hugely valuable information. So if you have a look at some of the posts and some of the comments that follow a post, it will tell you a bit about the types of people that are following the fan pages, and it will also tell you a bit about why they're fans of that particular product or service or brand. And it might also give you a really good insight into how you should pitch your ad, because you'll get a feel for the types of images that work well and the types of headlines that really resonate with that audience. Because all you need to do is have a look at the posts on that fan page that have got the most likes, comments and shares, and that's going to give you a really good starting point to see and understand what those customers enjoy. Another way you can discover further interests and pages that you might not have considered is simply to keep an eye on the Power Editor when you're typing in a fan page. You'll see straight away that Facebook gives you a number of suggestions. So note those pages down and take time to research those pages in depth to see if any of them are worth considering for targets. I should advise you at this point that not all fan pages will come up in the interest list in the Power Editor, and this can be really frustrating if you feel like you found the perfect page to target, but you can't actually select it as an interest. Now, I've not found any solid information as to why this, but the best theory I've read on it is that Facebook only lists pages it considers brands with good followings, rather than every single page that it holds, because there are millions of them. Here's another trick you can try. When you next log on to Facebook under your personal profile, click like against one of the pages that you're considering targeting. And what Facebook will do is start to give you a list of other recommended pages to like. And that's really useful information, as it's likely to be the case that those pages are aimed at a very similar audience. They're potentially really good options for your ads. If you don't want to click like against the page to discover recommendations, there's also a little known trick that you can try that will give you basically the same information. Simply replace the page URL, which is shown in the slides, that it's got graph as a subdomain. So you can see replacing facebook.com / whatever the fan page is called, replace it with graph.facebook.com / the fan page name. Now, once you've done this, you'll get a little bit of code that comes up on screen, and one of those bits of code has got ID equals, and there'll be a long string of numbers. So you want to copy and paste that number, that long string of numbers against ID, and you want to replace it in the URL I've listed here. So facebook.com / pages / from page ID equals, and then you put that long string of numbers in there, press enter, and then lo and behold, you'll get a whole list of pages that Facebook recommends that are similar to the one that you've been targeting. Next, here's a recommendation for you if you want to do a bit more research into your Facebook market. I use a tool on a website called socialbakers.com, and what they do is provide free insights into the demographics on Facebook. So they look at things like what brands are growing their audience on Facebook, how fast they're growing, and what the demographics are of that audience. And the information's fairly high level because they look at some of the bigger brands, but if you're really stuck about what pages you should be targeting, they're a really, really useful starting point. Here's another helpful trick. You can actually monitor your target pages and see how their audience is interacting with them on Facebook. The way you do this is by going to the Audience Insights tab of your own Facebook page. So if you go in as an admin, you'll see that Insight tab, which tells you about your most popular posts. And there you can list up to 5 other pages to follow. And what Facebook will do is it will give you regular statistics on how many fans they've got, how fast they're growing, and it will tell you about any popular posts that are getting a lot of engagement with their users. And it's the ones with a high level of engagement that you really want to be targeting with your ads, so that's really useful information. And here's a final tip to finish on. Check out the fan pages to see if the business or brand is currently running a big promotional advertising campaign, because the chances are that if they're doing that, they're going to advertise on Facebook to their own audience. And if they're doing a big advertising campaign, then they're going to push the price up, and they're going to push the competition up for their own page, which means your advertising costs are going to go up significantly. So it really helps to avoid these promotional periods, and when you do discover them, just try and focus on other interests and other fan pages during that time until it's finished.